Yeah, perfect, perfect. Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and those who identify otherwise, for the first round of the SSRI GT3 2024 fall season. In Tier 1, of course, we go racing tonight with the pros and semi-pro drivers. The drivers have just recently headed out onto qualifying, and no one have started a lap yet. They are still rolling around on their out lap. A lot of big names joining us this season here in Split 1. A lot of new names as well, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. A new car as well on the grid, the Ford Mustang GT3, of course, have joined us for this mighty season of racing. I do believe that Nikolai Schröder and Nart Cox will be the drivers of the famed Mustang. Maybe some other drivers as well, but those are the ones that I can remember off of my head. Some promotions as well from Split 2 into Split 1, which will be interesting to see how they will fare as the season goes on this time around. We are of course starting the season here at the Nurburgring, the GP layout. Of course we have the Nordic Life as well, but that seemed a little bit too evil to start a racing season on that one. Currently following one of the new Mustangs around the Mode 11 of Nikolai Schröder. That car will not be difficult to spot over the course of the season as it comes in a very lovely light blue color. Some might even say cyan with the Mustang racing stripe down it, of course. This season will be, I honestly can't remember the schedule, but we'll be having 75-minute races and we'll be having 1 hour races throughout the season. The 75-minute races are, as always, with mandatory fuel only. No minimum pit stop time there, so interesting to see who will opt for tires and who will opt for only fuel in this race. The 60-minute races will be there'll be tires mandatory to get some pit stop action going there. And a slight bit of strategy whether or not you want to overcut or undercut, which could become a question as well this season. Currently following Mr. Quantum around in his Honda NSX, as he will be probably the first driver to set a proper lap time as he goes around the final corner onto the start-finish straight. The track map on the right-hand side of you guys' screens out there with the blue dots, they indicate drivers who are on the track but not on a valid lap. The white dot are drivers on track who are on a valid lap, and the red dot are the car that we are following for the newcomers out there. The left-hand side of your screen shows the timing board. It unfortunately only shows the top 23, or we can get to go the bottom as well if we scroll down it. You'll see that during the race, of course, at some point, maybe even during qualifying. But as you can see, driver names on there in the big screen, the big selection in the middle, currently following Robinson in his BMW. Next to the driver name, on the left-hand side, you have their current position. That will be overall position or class position. The one marked by red are the one that we are following. If there are one marked by purple at any time, that's an indicator that the driver have the fastest lap of the race once we get there. Next to that, you'll have the car manufacturers they are driving for, and then the driver numbers and classes. The white background with the black numbers indicate that they are in the pro class and the most likely drivers to go for the overall win. The drivers with the numbers with the let's say silver background and white numbers, that's the semi-pros who have a championship for themselves, so that will be interesting to follow during the race who will come out on top of the semi-pro class. Next to that, there's a bar that's currently just white all the way down. That will indicate how many pit stops the drivers have to go, or will indicate whether or not that they have taken their mandatory stop once we get to the race. Andy King we are following around from PS UK Esports in the 58 Ferrari. Good old Andy, he will be at least trying to put up a challenge for the semi-pro championship this season. I think that's at least something that could be expected of him getting up there, looking at his previous result from other seasons. So he will not be too pleased that he is currently not on pole in the class, but not too far off either, as we are early in qualifying. Ahead of him in class, we have what in the Lattle? I'll just call that Lattle in the number 1 car, and Quantum currently the overall pole sitter at the time, semi-pro driver being up there. Speaking of drivers we're expecting to do well this season, Michael Thomas in the M2 competition, currently improving on his lap time by quite a lot. I'm being told in the back of my ear, some say that I hear voices, others say I hear Chris Hill. You decide yourselves out there. Michael Thomas currently improving on his lap time. He could be challenging for pole this time around in the 82 Aston Martin. Coming down the back straight into the SSD goes. Can he keep it nice and tight? That's taking the curb using the GT line, not opting for the Formula line, which would also be a little bit strange when you're in a GT car, of course. Down the long back straight he goes into the kink. And then I would say chicane at the back of the straight, especially in the GP configuration. Well, a little bit of a slide there, but whether or not that will impact his lap time, we'll have to see as he goes around the final corner of the track onto the start-finish straight. Michael Thomas across the line he goes, and wow, that's a lap and a half. 0.6 up on the previous best lap time in qualifying goes Michael Thomas to provisional pole position with a 1 minute 53.255. A lot of people out there on track. You can see a few people in the pits at the minute opting for a fresh set of tires and maybe a little bit of a refuel. Chris Winning currently 6th in his Aston Martin, improving by roughly half a second before he entered the final corner onto the start-finish straight. He goes across the line into 2nd, double Aston Martin at the front of the field at this point. Still a long way to go here in qualifying. The Aston Martins does look good around here at the Nurburgring. They have been known alongside the Mercedes previously to be strong here, as they can take a lot of the curbs around here without it impacting the ability to get on the front lawn, unsettling the car too much, as we see him go through the what is called RTL Arena section, Mercedes-Benz area, whatever, sector 1 of the track, before coming into one of those corners that often tricks out people because of the amount of speed that you can carry through, but if you take too much, then you'll set it up incorrectly for the second part of those two corners before going down the hill into the hairpin at the bottom end of the track. Also the most eastern part of the Nurburgring. Yes, that was just a side fact. That's probably wrong, but I can make stuff up, because who dares to say something different, and no one else can speak at the minute. Brent Quanten improving on his previous best lap as well in the Honda, gets a nice toe down the start-finish straight, goes into 2nd and breaks off the two Aston Martins' dominance on the front row. Quanten 2nd place at the minute, best place semi-pro driver as well. As Andy King have dropped to 14th overall, but still 3rd in class. Don't forget that. That will be one of the things that Andy will be looking out for. Position in regards to his competition in the semi-pro class. I also believe he is the best placed Ferrari out there on track at the minute. Dennis Verhoeven in the Porsche was up for a short while on his personal best. But whether or not that he can gain that time back through the final sector of the track, we'll have to wait and see. Just the chicane and the final hairpin of the track left for him, as he rounds the hairpin as we speak onto the start-finish straight. And let's see what happens when he goes across the line. absolutely nothing. No improvements there from Verhoeven, it looks like. Right, I have to get my PC closer to my face to see that name. Danny McCutcheon. Probably an Irish or Scottish driver, I'm just assuming. In the Ferrari currently last, but still with no valid lap time set in this session. So once he gets a lap in, we can probably start estimating his position in the standings. I just noticed that we actually have quite a few of the 4GTs. Hanske and Danny DeSwart as well in the Mustang. Interesting to see Mr. DeSwart in the Mustang, as he could probably have been a contender for the semi-pro championship in a top car. So good to see the variety of machinery out there on track. As McCutcheon comes around the final corner onto the start-finish straight, will he get an actual lap time on the board? Yes, he does, up to 25th. A driver that I don't believe that we have seen before here on SSRI, at least in the sprint championship. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares over the course of this season. Of course, a lot of pressure on in the first round. Chase Fredriksson, teammate with Tim Spenkelink in the Endurance Championship. A lot of traffic ahead of the Norwegian driver. Is he defending a semi-pro champion, or was he pro last season? Honestly, can't remember. I do believe that he have won a semi-pro championship at some point. If not, then he should have at least. As he comes onto the back straight, two wheels into the gravel there. Let's see how that impacts his lap time. As he goes down the back straight into the chicane, he goes. Will the traffic ahead of him be a distraction, or can he get a slide toe when he comes down the start finish straight off the Porsche? Maybe he's a little bit too far back, but he looks to be a little bit too late there, and just elects to set up the next lap time, or the next flying lap across the line. He goes to start that one. Mr. Fredriksson, he did win semi-pro last season. I did believe there was something about that in the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini driver himself, Mr. Fredriksson, also driven that car in the Endurance Championship with Mr. Sten Spenkeling, of course, as mentioned before. Didn't they win quite a few races as well? Maybe the Endurance last season overall, maybe as well. Who can remember those things? 6.5 minutes left to go in qualifying. The drivers in the pits at the minute are probably putting on their final sets of tires for qualifying, as we are following Schickerman around in his Porsche. On lane, currently improving by about 0.3 of a second down the back straight, but a lot can be won and lost here in the final sector. Into the chicane he goes, nicely on the curbs there. Goes a little bit wide on the exit there, but I do believe it's still valid, maybe. Not, at least onto the start finish straight he goes. Let's see if he jumps up the timing table or not. He does, up to 4th position. Good improvement there from the Dutch driver in the 911 Porsche. Up into 4th position. Still the two Aston Martins in the top 3, split by the Honda NSX. The only NSX in Tier 1, I might add to that. Also the Nissan only selected by a single driver. So that's a little bit interesting. Kurt Peters in the 177 BMW, all black it looks like. Through the final corner he goes, start finish straight. Can anything happen as he comes down? Will he improve? No, still 23rd, but he does still have a little bit of time to go into the pit and put on some fresh set of tires and try one more run. We are getting the area now where if you go into the pit you might not have enough time to get proper heat into the tires. If you go out of, you at least leave it for about 1 more minute, then it will be a little bit rough getting the heat in. Most people, they will do an out lap and then a slow lap, and then they will have the temperature of the tires that they're looking for a quick lap after that. So that will be interesting. The Ford GT of Hanske. Oh, it's not Ford GT, Mustang GT, Ford Mustang GT, GT3. of Hanke. The 34 car, actually fun fact, that was my very first racing number. Obviously everyone knows now that I only drive the 101 car, and if anyone tries to claim that number, I will find them and send them to Mr. Chris Hill's office for a good old-fashioned spanking. As Hanke goes down the back straight, good sound from the Mustang as well. Just goes as it passes. You can never get tired of that sound. Through the chicane he goes. Into the final hairpin. He does look to be improving a little bit, I'm being told in the back of my head. Final corner, still improving. Across the line he goes into 11th to put him as the best Mustang at the minute, but only by a single tenth, not even a single hundredth to Nart Cox. Fredriksson improving across the line. He goes to third. Now it's three different manufacturers in the top three, but still with a semi-pro driver on the front row. Can anyone take that away from Quanton, who is doing very well in that Honda? Keep it up there. David Hill across the line into fifth. He goes with an improvement. Could potentially take tires and go up for one all or nothing run. Karen Vidago following around, coming onto the back straight. A driver that potentially also could challenge for good positions in the championship. We usually see him near the top of the field when he goes onto the track. So it will be very interesting to follow him this season with the SSRI liveried Lamborghini, of course, from Mr. Vidago. Through the final corner, he goes start finish straight. Will Mr. Vidago improve? Across the line, he goes into seventh. Still with the possibility of two more flying laps if he is fueled for it. It will be risky now. Return to garage. You might not have enough time to go around for to get your lap started. So we will assume that everyone in the pits at the minute, they are done with qualifying. That includes the current third position driver of Fredriksson in the Lamborghini. That might be a little bit too early to call it quits, as there's still fast drivers out there on track. Fredriksson actually leaves the pit lane there. Maybe not the smartest he could have done, as he runs the risk of impeding other drivers out there. Nart Cox in the Dark Sky Mustang. Again, a driver that in a top car we have seen competing for wins before. So interesting to see what he can get out of the mighty Mustang. It's a fun car to drive, as you'll not that often use that many of the gears. You will normally just range between second and fifth in the Mustang for most tracks. Of course, here at the Nurburgring GP, you will use first in some corners, depending on your TC settings. It is also fairly well known at this point that the Mustang are quickest if you run it with 0 TC. So that's something to follow to see how many electrices the Mustangs will put into the tarmac during this race, and whether or not that they can control their tire wear on the rears. At least I struggled quite a bit on that with that when driving the Mustang. So yeah, well, I'm obviously not as skilled as these guys, of course, but you never know. You never know. We'll see what happens for them out there. Narcox currently 11th. Can he squeeze it into the top 10? He could potentially get one more lap after this one. Remember, when the time runs out in qualifying, you can still finish the lap that you're on. He does go wide. They're just trying to set up the next lap, so the next lap will definitely be one that's counting for Nart Cox as he comes across the line there to start his final lap of this qualifying session. Just about 5 seconds to go. He will also be the final driver to set a lap time in this qualifying session. Obviously, unless if he bails out, then it will be the car ahead of him. That is the 161 car of Quanton, who's currently on second. Who we will be crossing our fingers can get a good result in for the Honda, so maybe others will start choosing it. It is a lesser chosen car. Difficult to drive, some people say, but very, very cool looking machine when it's out there on track. Also a quite old car at this point. Same goes for the Nissan, of course. Regan Mitchell in his Ferrari, currently improving by about 0.3. That would put him into contention for fifth, sixth. That area for Regan Mitchell, if he continues to keep up the pace that he's running at the minute, as he comes back straight, he goes into the chicane for Regan Mitchell for the final time in qualifying. He goes a little bit full center. You can see how the car was sliding a bit underneath him, but still controllable. As the Ferrari is known to be a very controllable car. Through the final corner, he goes using all of the available track and the AstroTurf across the line. He goes into fifth for Regan Mitchell. Only no other drivers out there on track to try and beat him out on that. What a qualifying session we saw here for the first round of this fall season of the GT3 Championship. I think we'll do a little bit of a brief break before we head into the race. Well, you'll probably just get some nice scenic photos of the track. But a short, brief break before we go into the race, and we'll be right back with commentary. You can just pretend that we have some fancy background music or something. Meanwhile, maybe Chris will sing you a song. I'm being told definitely not, but we didn't want to lose the viewers. But a short break, and we'll be right back after this. We are right back at it. Sometimes nature calls, guys, and when a man have to go, a man have to go. We can go through the top 23 of the grid, maybe, as I don't have information on who's further down the standing order, unfortunately. But apparently Chris says that he wouldn't go through the grid. Well, we can still. As now people just think that I'm speaking to someone who's not here, Chris, but I'm speaking to you. But I'll just run through the names anyways, just for the sakes of it. Also, just to mention that we have all the available manufacturers in the race in the top 23, which is good to see. But nevertheless, Michael Thomas on pole position in the Aston Martin number 82. Good to see an Aston up there. Somewhat reasonably good results for the Aston drivers this time around, with two of them in the top four. Next to Michael Thomas will be Mr. Quentin in his Honda NSX, the 161 car. We'll be keeping a close eye on him throughout the race, as he is the pole sitter for the semi-pro class. Starting behind them on row 2 will be Fredriksson and Winning in the Lamborghini number 92, and the Aston Martin of the 524 car there in fourth. Regan Mitchell and David Hill behind them, first Ferrari and first McLaren on the grid. Behind those guys we'll have in seventh Mr. Shegerman and Kieran Vidago. In ninth and 10th, Steve White, maybe not Steve, but at least White, the second placed semi-pro driver in the standing order. Robinson in 10th, Nard Cox 11th, Hanske in 12th, two Ford GTs next to each other back there. Bas van Melis, third in the semi-pro class in the 13th, with Andy King next to him in 14th, also semi-pro. Letzel in the McLaren behind those guys, semi-pro as well. Penacci in 16th, Ordelman in 17th, Mr. Richard Prixley in 18th, the Wild Things Racing machine there, the one and only Nissan on the grid. Parties in 19th, Nikolai Schröder in the Mustang in 20th, another Mustang behind him with Danny DeSwan in 21st. Pascal Vida lines up in a 22nd position. Andrew Richardson, promoted from what was it, Tier 2 last season, I believe, or was it Mr. Prixley who got that? I can't remember. One of those two definitely got promoted from last season. I actually think it was Mr. Prixley who got that. Behind Andrew Richardson, we have Uvik in the McLaren, Kurt Peters in 25th, Nisbet in 26th, Verhoeven 27th, Aaron Van Doren in a BMW, which is a bit surprising, as he used to be a Mercedes fanatic. In 28th, Nick Vargas in a Mercedes in 29th, McCutcheon in 30th, Anthony Tehorst in 31st in his good old Mercedes for him, usual teammates with Mr. Van Doren way back when, and then 32nd and final on the grid is Van Schijk. The drivers have started their formation lap. As they have, as I've been speaking away, it looks like we have a car starting from the pit. That's Chris Winning. He was way up the order. Unfortunate for Mr. Winning. Maybe he didn't have the setups all figured out, or something else might have gone wrong for him. Bit unfortunate to see a car from the pit lane, but maybe it's a tactical decision to get out of the possible carnage that is likely to happen here at the Nurburgring, as the first corner does turn back on you with more than 90 degrees, almost a 180-degree turn around into turn 1. So the hero line on the outside might be an option for some drivers, though braking late onto the inside we have seen before work for some, but have caused issues for others, as the drivers have started lining up side by side and getting ready for the race, having the pit stop strategy sorted out. All of the TCs and brake bias, all of the electronics they are figuring out and getting those set for the race start. Maybe a little bit of final tire warming for some of the drivers and brake warming as well. Coming around here, Winning wasn't he one of the Aston Martins way up? Yeah, he was. And onto the start-finish straight we go. And ladies and gentlemen, for the first time this season, we are shortly about to be racing. Good start from Michael Thomas as he keeps first position there. It looks like it's the Porsche Triggerman who's getting run a little bit to the outside there. Quantum tries the outside to turn one for the lead of the race. Quantum takes it very briefly, but Michael Thomas maintains position. But remember that now we turn through time to the left. A little bit of a contact there between Quantum and Michael Thomas. They do come out of that still 1-2. Same positions as before. Quantum goes deep into the next corner, tries the outside line. Can he get the power down and challenge Thomas forward? They both run a little bit wide there. Onto the grass goes Quantum. This means that Fredriksson will have the run into the next corner. He is on the outside though. Does try. Quantum covers it off, but Fredriksson is still there. Now they turn right. Fredriksson tries it, but does he get denied? Will he have the run out the corner? Looks like Fredriksson up into second. Quantum drops into third with a terrible exit there, which means that that's Mitchells, I think, who can try to move into the hairpin. Quantum goes very wide there, conservative, trying to avoid further contact, but gets pushed a little bit wide there. Slight contact on the rejoin, nothing to do about that. Looks like, but all safe so far, no major yellow flags. It looks like as everyone have started forming into a single file, coming up to the S's for the first time, or through the S's into the corners leading onto the backstreet. It looks like someone was trying to move further down the field, but nevertheless, here we go. It's Lettel in the McLaren, and that's Penacci in the Lamborghini behind. What's going on back here? It's Mr. Prixley who gets a good run on a BMW. That's Robinson who have dropped a little bit, but not enough to make the move into the fast chicane here at the end of the lap. Into the hairpin we go, side by side ahead of them. The BMW does get run a little bit wide there, but all fair there. We do know that this was very good in a straight line usually. So will Mr. Prixley have the run into turn one? He will at least have the inside line. Let's see if he can make the most out of that. Both cars on the brakes, slamming them as hard as possible. Prixley is very much side by side, but can he get early enough on the front? He does manage to do so and takes position. Prixley up into 10th in the race here on lap 2 with the number 7 Wild Things Racing Nissan. Always good to see the Wild Things cars on track, and the old livery for the Wild Things car there, not the brand new pink one, or brand new it's not anymore, but not the old pink, but the old black and pink one. The reverted color scheme. Basically further down the field we go with a battle between a Mustang and a Ferrari. Looks like it's Nico Hatska and Andy King who's added here, but remember that's Nikolai Schröder right behind in another Mustang, who might be trying to take advantage of this little bit of a scrappy exit there from Andy King. Schröder goes up the inside into the hairpin, of the eastern hairpin of the track, and does get the move done. He does go a little bit wide there. Andy King have the overspeed coming out the corner, tries the outside line into the corner. He will have the better exit, but Nikolai gets a very nice line that parks it, but no, it's not over yet. Andy King still on the outside. A little bit of contact now, but Andy King goes through. A little bit squeaky. That looked like King turned in ahead of Schröder, but nothing major came out of that, and King takes the position back from Nikolai Schröder. Schröder actually gets a little bit of a bad exit there. Does the Mustang have the top end to keep Pascal Vida and the Ferrari behind? It does look like it, as Basford Millis does have to defend further back from Ottoman. Ottoman just gets out. That one almost caused a little bit of a thing there by going early on the brakes. Parties have to take evasive action onto the grass, but again, very, very good return from him there. No one got hurt in that one. Still good racing, but Parties does seem to be losing a position there to the Mercedes Andrew Richardson, who goes through and takes, what will that be, 18th position. That's I think that's a McLaren of Ewing, who tries it around into the turn one, but not enough room as there's a Mercedes on the apex ahead of him. Side by side through turn 2. Will they get off this one alive? Oliver Ewing in the McLaren still on the outside. The Porsche does get it done, it looks like, as Ewing is immediately under pressure from Curtis in the BMW behind. Wow, what a great start to this season so far. Tons and tons of action. One car still in the pits, 2 cars have fallen further behind. They might have taken the pits already. The Swore have at least done so. Now Cox in the pit as well, getting it out of the way early, maybe just trying to get into clean airs. We have seen Nard being a master strategist earlier on in the years as they're side by side further down the field as well. That looked like the Mercedes of Horst getting a move done and becoming a little bit of a great driver, or at least gets to the front of the train that starts from 22nd and goes all the way down. So Horst gets ahead of that pack, with Van Schijk, who have made great progression in this race from dead last on the starting grid to 22nd currently in the race. Great start there from the Porsche driver as they come on to the back straight. Let's see if Horst gets put under pressure into the chicane. Doesn't look like it, but again, very different line from many drivers. There's some people likes to carry a lot of speed at the entry. Some people tries to get the better speed on the exit. That can cause issues further up the field. And while we're at it, just remember to hit the like and subscribe button, and for notifications, hit the bell as well. Different lines into turn 1 as well, but a lot of pack racing going on up here. It's all about being at the right place at the right time. As Hanske is under pressure now from King. Still, have we gotten the move and King maybe done? Weren't they battling earlier as well? Was that Schröder up on King before? I think it was Schröder was up at King's ass before, or King's behind, I should say. As they come into the corners, we did see all the cones getting thrown up already by the first car in lap 1. As the drivers usually uses a little bit of the extra track available there to get as good line as possible into those corners. Battle for second between Mr. Hill and Fredriksson. Hill got a great start in all of this, and Quanten in fourth. These three seems to be very close together on speed. Yellow flag her out of the hairpin. That's the number 1 McLaren. Lattel have gone around there, does the right thing and waiting until the pack have passed on before he rejoins. But that definitely put a spanner in his racing this evening. Sim, why are you not racing? I can see I have you running on my TV that I can see you writing in the YouTube chat. God damn it. Get your ass to your rig and start racing instead of that shit. I mean, that feces. Ah, have you had a baby girl, Sim? Well, congratulations. Let's all put some hearts in the chat for Mr. Sim. And then you are allowed not to be racing, of course. Very nice, very nice. If you had a girl, why are you then sat here watching the stream? Isn't that a... Nevertheless, good to have you here. And again, big congrats to you and the missus, I assume. As the racing continues up in the front of the field. Mr. Fredriksson, the Norwegian driver in the Lamborghini, under extreme pressure, it seems like, from Quanten. Quanten still leading the semi-pro class, but remember, they're not just competing in their own class, they're also competing in an overall championship. And maybe Quanten will be aiming for that more than his own class, as he definitely seems to have the pace, at least here early on at the Nurburgring, to at least stick with the battle for the podium. Michael Thomas have just blown away in the front already. 4.6 second lead from Michael Thomas, but then again, he's not under pressure by any of the other drivers. Here's a little bit of a replay of what happened to Lethal. Let's see if it was assisted that he got around, or if he just put some too much throttle on the grass. A little bit assisted, but also a little bit wide, so unfortunate for him. Let's see if he can recover in the race, and how well he can recover, we should say. He's definitely going to recover, as he have made contact with the back of the pack already. It looks like on the minimap at least. But these three, it might be decided between strategies between these three, who will take tires, who will not, who will pit at the halfway point, who will go deep, who will go early. There's probably no reason to stop early in the race for these guys, as they would head straight out into traffic when they rejoin. Quanten now shows himself on the inside of Fredriksson. Into turn 1, Quanten goes for the move. Up into third now for Quanten. Takes 1 spot back from Mr. Fredriksson. It's now only Davy Hill ahead of him. directly on track before he can throw out the lashes and try and go for Michael Thomas, who is leading this race very comfortable early on. Great move there from Quanton in the Honda NSX. Let's see what Fredriksson can do to maybe get back into this and respond to the overtake. Quanton putting a lot of pressure already on Mr. Hill. He does seem to have the pace, but one thing is to be fast, another thing is to get by other drivers. Let's see how he will handle this. A new driver, a new challenge, a new car ahead of him, of course. The 555 of Hill could not be. It's not necessarily the easiest driver to pass. He is a well-experienced driver from not just our own community, but I've seen him in other races as well over the course of the years. So he will definitely be a tough nut to crack for Mr. Quanton. Interesting to see how the Honda will deal with tire wear in a race like this. Some of the pace the drivers have early on in the race might be an indication that they'll be going for the tire change strategy, because if they are going for that, then they will only be fueled for half of the race. Further down the field, the action is still going strong. Juvic here right behind Mr. Andrew Richardson and Bas van Melis, the two Mode 11 drivers ahead of him in a Mercedes and BMW. I wonder if there are any team orders between those two drivers. Then we'll probably see Andrew just get flying ahead of Bas at some point. But they might be playing by, what was it, papaya rules, or what, when Piastri launched it on Lando in the weekend. Something like that. We might see between the two Mode 11 drivers later on, or maybe Andrew is just playing defensive strategy, doing a Kevin Magnussen for Bas van Melis. But look at that, he tries the move there, Juvic. Into turn 1 now on the outside, around turn 2. Not early enough on the throttle. Will he try it into the next corner? Looks like he goes deep there. Contact is made between Juvic and Richardson. Richardson goes spinning out there for a gap in the traffic to start driving again. He chooses to go the other way around. Might have been a slight mistake there from Richardson, not just waiting it out there, but good to see that he didn't just immediately go on the throttle trying to rejoin. Good track behavior there from Mr. Richardson. But very, very unfortunate for Richardson's race there. And, yeah, that could be a reportable offense there. That we saw Juvic launch it up, but again, racing is racing. Sometimes stuff happens. The two PS UK esports drivers of Andy King and Stuart White next to each other on track in their two Ferraris, battling it out for 11th position. White have made the move on King very recently, as we can see him in 11th from the bottom right hand side, but 12th on the left hand timing board. So that must have happened in the hairpin or just before, as White is already gapping King a little bit, it looks like. Could again have been team orders, we don't know. I wish we had some sort of a secret input there to their team radios in this championship. That could put a little bit of a spice on things. But nevertheless, White in 11th. He'll try to chase down Nikolai Schröder in the third Mode 11 car, the Mustang Mode 11, who is now directly ahead of him. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Here's a little bit of a replay between what happened with Juvic and Richardson. Juvic goes to just the difference where they like to break for the corner, and unfortunate really there for both drivers, but that could impact Richardson's race throughout, or it will definitely impact Richardson's race, maybe even championship if hope later further down the line. But we'll have to see. Anything can happen in a long championship, so he is theoretically still in it. And if he can scrape down a few points in this race, it will be good for his chances later on, or further down the line at least. Penacci have gone into the pits, saving his mandatory pit stop early on, getting that out of the way. Looks like Schröder went a little bit wide there into the eastern hairpin of the track. For those who don't know, it's the corner with all the flags painted on the concrete grandstands down there. If you've seen the pictures of those, at some point maybe popping up on your Windows PC when you start it up, or well, just a regular focus on the internet because you like racing circuits, and that's one of the more scenic parts of the racing circuit world. Stop go 30 for Pinacci. That can only be for speeding in the pit lane, as part C's is under pressure from Juvic. Oh, and a slow going Mercedes ahead of them, it looks like. Doesn't look like that horse got the best of runs there. A lot of side by side coming into the fast chicane at the end of the back straight. Juvic losing out a few positions there, it looked like. Unfortunate for his race. Show battle for P2, please, is being mentioned in YouTube, but how can we do that when we almost have NASCAR style driving further down the field? As Pascal Vida tries to move on Andy King have already dropped off of White. Looks like that White just have the better pace today over Andy King. As Vida in the 28 car, here we go for second. It looks like the Quantum have actually made the move into second position in the race. So Quantum, the semi-pro driver, in the Honda up into second position, 8 seconds behind Michael Thomas. It will be very interesting to see how the pit stop strategies will pan out for these drivers. And Crawford immediately goes 1.2 seconds. Not much of a battle, but I guess it was much of a battle there, Mr. Crawford. Yes, I figured out that I could turn on the race on the TV in the living room while commentating on the laptop, so I can see the YouTube chat. A little bit delayed, though, I must say, but I guess it is what it is. We take what we can get at this point. So Hill is now in the, let's see, a replay comes up here. This is the overtake for second. Looks like it's going to happen to turn one. Goes off the slipstream quite early. Goes Quantum, showing his intents quite clearly. And just nails the braking perfectly there. Even with the possibility that he could have left room on the outside if Hill would have stuck it around there for second. Very, very strong move there from Mr. Quinton in the Honda NSX. Let's see if David Hill in the Amigos racing car can catch back up or keep with Quantum, I should rather say, as Quantum seems to have a ton of pace at the minute. Already pulled out 0.7 of a second worth of a lead over Mr. Hill. So will he catch up? Hard to say. I hope so for the interest of this race. Or maybe Fredrickson go up there as they're battling further down the field. That I think is a Peters and Winning. Winning, remember, starting from the pit lane. Goes for the move into turn one. Doesn't make a stick, but is on the inside for turn two. Still the inside coming into turn three. He should have this one done, and does Winning. Clean overtake there for Winning. Maybe Peters also didn't think much of battling Winning, as he probably will know that Winning started from the pits, and he might see him as a faster driver, and sometimes you got to manage a race instead of taking every battle you could get. As Peters is not that far away from Scheik ahead of him, and if Van Scheik decides to battle Winning, then Winning inevitably will catch up, then he could potentially have a little bit of a game there. So playing the strategic game maybe does Peters, but we'll have to wait and see what will go on in that battle. Under an hour to go in the race. The race is settling down a little bit. We still have the stories of the comeback drivers. Winning being one of them, starting from the pits, of course, and all the drivers who already pitted. Juvic is the lead driver of those. They are the ones marked with the green marker next to their car numbers. The yellow box that says 1 indicates that they still have one mandatory pit stop to go. That's Stuart White. Stuart White in the wall. That's just before the final corner. Out of the very, very fast chicane. I wonder if that was unassisted. It is one of the few places on this track where we usually do, or we could see drivers make a small mistakes, take a little bit too much curb, or just run wide on the exit and throw themselves into that wall. I bet my sweet behind that Chris Hill is trying to get a replay of what happened to White. But that surely will impact his race. He definitely took some damage hitting that wall. I wonder if White will take the pit stop this time around to get some damage fixed, or if he will stug it out there and maybe try to race through with the damage and keeping the car as is for the remainder of this race. So now let's see what happens. It's a replay here. He's close to Nikolai Schröder. Let's see what happens. Nothing wrong with any of the braking there. Oh, he hits the inside side curb there. Yeah, that's then he just goes up. Doesn't hit the wall too hard. He could potentially keep going with that minor damage that he will have gotten from that hit. So yeah, now White goes to the comeback driver list. Does seem to have a little bit of an issue with the car. Maybe the car is more damaged than it looks like. Could also be a confidence thing, or maybe just tires that have overheated slightly. Aaron van Doren is getting close to Nick Vargas. Down here in the battle for 22nd position. The Haribo liveried Mercedes and Aaron van Doren of CBSR. The team that runs the very, very beautiful Mercedes usually. I think that the horse is still ripping that car. One of my all-time favorite sim racing liveries, I must say. Didn't they have a livery for the M4 as well once? I do think they used it for an endurance event way back when the M4 first came out. But Van Doren all over the back of Vargas. Down the start-finish straight. Will the BMW have more power than the Mercedes coming into turn 1? Doesn't look like it, but will he throw the lasso? Does show himself on the inside, but falls back into line. Didn't fancy a dive from that far away. Van Doren usually one of the smarter drivers on track, obviously depending on how much he has been drinking before the races or even during the races, as him and his teammate Sehorst are quite famous for that. Maybe more famous than I am, at least for the drinking part. Well, they probably are. They are Dutch, of course, so they drink a lot and do other fun stuff, of course. But it does look like that Van Doren struggles a little bit more than Vargas through the more technical parts of the tracks, or at least off the track. Yellow flag down here in the hairpin. There's car parked there in the gravel. Is that Andy King's car? It didn't look. It could have been King or maybe even Schröder. It was a light bluish car. We will probably get an answer to that at some point. The 68 car, I think it was. Who drives the 68? I think 58 would be King, so probably not him. Or did I just look at? Or did I just look wrong? Was it Stuart White again? Would have? Yeah, yes, no, we'll probably figure out at some point. Could have been the 58, but doesn't look like it on the timing board as he is not dropping. Could probably figure out what cars they're still dropping like a fly at the minute. Nevertheless, looks like the Vargas is also catching up to Richardson ahead. A bit surprisingly, considering that Richardson had that off earlier in the race. Maybe Richardson is carrying damage on the car after the contact with Juvic a few laps ago. But it does look like that they are bunching up a bit behind Mr. Andrew Richardson and McCutcheon further up the road. Still with I would say distance enough that they are not in direct battle with him. But Richardson is definitely becoming the lead driver of this small train, forming here for 20th position. Through the corners, we can see that different lines through the corners. Van Doren using a bit more of the track than Vargas elects to, but overall in pace it doesn't seem to be that much different through the corners this time around. Let's take a quick little pit of it. still 50 to go. It will likely still be a little while before we start seeing the pit stops. I would assume about 12 minutes before the pit stop round. Because it was feel like just the braking wrong and goes straight into the gravel trap. I think his race is getting close to being over at this point. I hope he keeps going to try and collect as many points as possible. It was a bit weird, but it seemed like he noticed that he was going too fast to get the car turned, and then just elected to go full brake and go as short as possible into the gravel trap. Maybe some equipment failure could be. It looked a little bit strange. Back to live pictures, Vargas have definitely caught up to Andrew Richardson, and the winning goes into the pits with about 49 minutes to go on the clock. Just trying to have a look up and down the timing board. Is there other battles? Oh, he's also supposed to Peter Sampanelis up there and Dyke as well in that group. But it's basically those two groups that have formed at the minute that are super tight. Not too far off of each other on track either. As the racing goes on, 3 German cars next to each other here on track 2 Mercedes, 1 BMW. Speaking of German cars, I don't think there's a single Audi in Tier 1 this season actually. Also not the most liked car out there. I do know it's not for everyone when driving it. I don't mind it too much, but it is a little bit more of a technical car. When you get behind the wheel of that, you can see Richardson really pushing now to try and maintain the 19th position. It will be after winning, went into the pit. Vargas are very, very close to Mr. Richardson. When will he try for it? I think it's becoming a matter of time and not a matter of if. A yellow flags ahead of them. 171 looks like it's 177. That's Kurt Peters. Kurt Peters and the BMW have gone off the track. Reed goes directly into the pit with a lot of damage there. I think there could be made an exception there for crossing the pit entry line when you are going in for emergency services. Back at it again up here. Richardson defends this time around down the start-finish straight. I think at this point Van Doren is just staying behind and watching the battle ahead to see if something happens after that, and then striking at the opportune time, maybe trying to follow Vargas through if he tries for the move at some point. Well, when he tries for the move, he will definitely try for it. It looks like that he has the pace advantage on Richardson. But again, Richardson will likely be carrying a little bit of damage, and Richardson, I would assume, Richardson would have the necessary skills to nurse the tires enough that he will not have to take tires in the pit. He could potentially go for the fuel-only strategy. And that might be why he's struggling a bit for pace at this point of the race. He did seem to get a little bit of a gap there out of the eastern hairpin. Drive through for Chris Winning. That's very unfortunate for Winning's comeback chances. Remember, he started from the pits, but now he picked up a drive through. So that will definitely put him way back the order once he serves that. That will be for, well, could be track cuts, but I would assume pit speed limits as he have recently taken his pit stop. Look at that, Richardson controlling the gap at the minute, though not the best timer through the fast chicane there. Can Vargas get a good enough exit that he can use the slipstream to set it up on Andrew Richardson down the start-finish straight? He is a little bit far back for my liking to try for it, so I don't think he will this time around. Maybe Vargas, ooh, getting close there. Very, very, very close. Very good on the brakes there was Nick Vargas. It looked like he could brake much, much later than Richardson. into turn 1 as he is very much glued to the back of him once again, with Van Duren also in there, so it could be either maybe some brake issues for Richardson, or he is really just running with more fuel in the car to go for the fuel-only strategy. Down to go, it does seem like Richardson can't get any kind of a gap in the corners, and he's not that aggressive coming out the corners either, so it could be that, or maybe Vargas have just managed to get the setup just right for the Mercedes this time around. A little bit of a slide there from Vargas behind on board with Richardson, looking from the roof back up to, I think that's the Schumacher is on the track. Maybe it could be, or it could be the next one. I always get those confused. Some car there, the gravel looked like a Porsche. Could have been Van Schijk, unfortunate for him as he was up there battling with Hartwies and Bas van Melis. Going very close to the gravel there on the run onto the start-finish straight. But that's the thing, the very best drivers, they use all of the track available every time and don't make the mistakes that often what separates the very top from the good drivers. The last little bit of skill, but Richardson is so good out the final corner. But we did see the struggles under braking last time from Andrew Richardson. Maybe Vargas have learned this time around and will either try for it on the long way around the outside, but Van Duren goes for it on Vargas coming into turn 1. Tries, but not enough. It looks like Van Duren comes to the outside for turn 2. Vargas chops him off and defends very, very nicely there. Split screen action going on. I honestly can't see Jack on any of the two screens because it's all on my laptop, so I assume the bottom one it looks like the CBS maybe Mercedes and Bas van Melis. It must be the Mode 11 CBSR, two legacy teams in the community that we have seen from the beginning of SSRI and even from back in the days of SRHI. These two teams have been added with each other. Top left hand, of course, the Richardson, Vargas, and Van Duren battle, which is funny because there's another Mode 11 and another CBSR driver in that as well. Actually, I think there are two Mode 11 drivers in the top left screen. Vargas as well could be a Mode 11. So there are many Mode 11s there. Bas seems to be doing well, being the best placed Mode 11 car on track at the minute. If no, further would be that all the way up in 10. But look at that. That's a horse trying it on the outside of Bas van Melis. Maybe just trying to get Bas in a terrible line there. Top left hand again, a move there from Van Duren this time around. On that would be Vargas in the Haribo car. Trying for it, still trying through the hairpin on the western side of the track, down the start-finish straight, tuck into the slipstream, goddammit. Vargas chooses the defensive line into turn 1, forcing Van Duren to try the long way around. A little bit of door rubbing that looks like, but if Van Duren still at it, he will have the inside for turn 2. It does send it up into the inside, he will have the inside for the next corner as well. If he can keep the car in there, he tries for it and does get the move done and will have a full choice of lines through the final part of the stadium section. But look at that, the two drivers coming in from behind as well. And we are backing up some minor technical difficulties. As per usual, I would say here on the YouTube channel, we do struggle with that. Unfortunately, as none of us are experts on any of the streaming stuff, we are just happy amateurs trying to do our best with what we have. As we have just entered the start of the pit window for the driver who will opt to change tires. Looks like Hankel are the first of the drivers who will take the pit here roughly at the halfway point of the race. Van Doren are now the driver who will get to have a go at Andrew Richardson after he made the pass on Nick Vargas. So let's see if Van Doren can get this done. Vargas did seem to struggle a bit with the difference in pace around the track between himself and his teammate in the other Mode 11 Mercedes. So will Van Doren be able to do this as we are on board with him now from within the from the driver's point of view, basically. Tries the double apex line in the eastern hairpin. Up the hill he goes. Using all of the curb. Looks like Richardson almost carried not enough speed there, but could just manage to keep it on track without sliding out. Important corners now as we go onto the back straight. But not enough there for Van Doren to keep up with Richardson. Is that the Bas to Horst battle again in the bottom right hand side? Who's that coming up behind them though? It is McLaughlin who have caught up behind those two as to Horst goes into the pits. That is likely for a full service tire change if he comes in at this point of the race. Right about halfway through, it would be 37:30, that would be halfway, so roughly that for Horst as he dives in. His teammate Van Doren opts to stay out on track. Split strategies there for the CBSR crew. It's usually the upside of having a teammate that you can discuss what would be up to. Michael Thomas have also pitted while we have been not looking at the top of the field. He have definitely taken tires, I would assume, with a stop that early in the race. Yeah, Michael Thomas have just pitted. We can still see him dropping on the timing board every time someone passed the timing line. But 10th, 11th, Michael Thomas, where will he be once that settles down? Probably around there, I would assume. Yeah, he is into 12th. Michael Thomas, 3.7 after parties on track. So we'll see what will happen there later on. The battle is still going strong between Van Doren and Richardson. Richardson does seem to be doing quite a good defensive drive, but some battles are forming after pit lane as well as Hanticle in 21st are having some company from Swart and Ottelman behind. But let's not miss this moment as Van Doren are all over the back of Andrew Richardson, now onto the back straight off the track. Not the easiest place to get the move done. He tries, he'll be on the outside for the first part. The quick chicane door banging there, coming into the braking zone. Richardson tries to deny as he squeezes Van Doren onto the grass, but he does manage to keep control of the car there. And Richardson gets put under pressure by Nick Vargas. This could be Vargas' chance to get the move done on his Mode 11 teammate, as we have seen him struggle before, but the strength of Vargas seems to be under braking, so we could try and launch it into turn 1. Let's see what happens. Nothing this time around as there comes a car from behind that almost goes up to them. Is that Van Schijk behind them? Yeah, that must be Van Schijk in the Porsche. I've caught up to the back of this battle. But yeah, Aaron Van Doren finally gets the move done and manages to get the move done that Nick Vargas couldn't do for quite a while. These three, as they haven't pitted yet, could be on the fuel-only strategy. I wouldn't put it past any of these drivers. We know Van Schijk at least have been experimenting with alternate strategies earlier on in his sim racing career, so he could potentially be on the fuel only. Looks like that Vargas are falling a little bit behind Richardson now again, as he's actually under more pressure from Van Schijk than he is applying to his teammate of Andrew Richardson ahead of him. Further up the field, I think Michael Thomas soon will be catching up to the traffic of parties. Gate a few cars before before getting clear air once again out there on track. McCaffin is also getting close to Bas Van Melis, once again up in 12th position. Now that it would be McLaughlin and Van Melis there as of course the horse dove into the pit. That's Van Schijk. Van Schijk not going too alternative on the strategy. Brixley and Hill into the pit lane as well. They will likely be joining right around this point where we see Bas Van Melis on track at the minute with some damage on the front of his car. Bas Van Melis must have had contact with someone during this race, or something, maybe even. But he is under severe pressure from the coffin behind, as the two white cars, the BMW of the Mode 11 car ahead of the white Ferrari behind. McCaffin will definitely be on for some different things. Ooh, yellow flags around the track. That would be a 696. That's the horse. That's Anthony Horse, who just came off the pits not that long ago. But look at the run there from McCaffin. Yeah, that's the horse. He's still parked. I wonder if have some equipment failure yellow flag ahead of these two drivers. Someone returned to garage there. So no issue for McCaffin and Van Melis. But Van Melis under very, very big pressure. He, of course, are in his full right to defend this Van Melis. They are in two different classes, so if Van Melis is going for the class championship or class points, then it might not be the wisest thing to go too overly aggressive on the defending. But at this point, it just doesn't look like that McCaffin have the overspeed to try for a move anywhere. As the horse is still causing a yellow flag, that must be some sort of equipment failure that he's having. Van Melis on the early turn in there into turn one. Big trail break moment as Van Doren goes into the pits. Getting very close to the half-hour mark of the race. It will happen during this lap for these two drivers as they're coming around. Just try and get the PC into a position where I can see a little bit more on the screen. Not going too well with that, I must say. Oh man, I need to get the main one sorted at some point. But McCaffin still on the tail of Van Melis. Through the Eastern hairpin, Van Melis over the seasons have had some up and downs in the championships. He had almost an entire year where he was, I would say, a little bit unlucky in the starts, we should say, as he was often collected in crashes that happened around him, and that hurt his championship chances down the line in those seasons. But it seems like at least today he have got that sorted and got away cleanly, and he's truly showing his pace. It is currently ninth on track, but a lot of people behind him have pitted, and he still are yet to do so. McCaffin all over the back of Van Melis, going left, right, left, really showing himself all over the mirrors of Van Melis. Through the final corner on the track, he is very close this time around. If the slipstream is large enough, then he could potentially go for into turn one. We do know the Ferrari are not the quickest car in a straight line, and we can see that Van Melis just have enough there to defend the potential move into turn one. But let's see how they go through this stadium section. We really see McCaffin there trying for it around different lines than Van Melis, really showing that he have a lot more grip. It's just not easy to get it done there if you're not already on the side of the opponent car, coming into the tight twisty section there of sector one. McCoffin there showing a little bit of a flashing there with the front lights. Maybe he's not too happy about Van Mellis driving, but it looked very clean to me, at least on the shots that we are getting. Van Mellis again with the early turn into the hairpin. It does make it difficult for the car behind to get a move done when you're using those lines. You have to be very aware of that when you're trying to overtake. But again, you also have to be aware of that when someone is trying to overtake you. If they're coming onto your inside, then you might have to turn out of corners when you're driving like that. Get a different line from McCoffin there. Maybe he get a little bit earlier on the front. It does look like he gets a better drive out of the corner than Bas Van Mellis ahead of him. Tucking into the slipstream, but again, not really close enough to go for it into the fast chicane here at the end of the back straight. We do know that the BMW are less likely to spin out if he takes a little bit more curb than the Ferrari. Tight line there through the final turn. This could potentially be the lap where he does get it set up. He might try it into turn one. But no, once again, the BMW just seems to have the leg on the Ferrari down the start-finish straight. A little tap there was made in turn one, but again, difficult to avoid that because the speeds are so slow coming out of a super quick straight. But you can really see there, especially through the stadium section. Whoa, traffic jam in the bottom right-hand side of the screen. That's I think that's Vargas. I think I can see Richardson as well in that. That's a Paul Dave Hill involved in that. That could potentially not be too good for his chances in the race with Quanson, who is still yet to pit. Oh, as I say, that Quanson is actually in the pits at the minute. So where he comes out, that could be very, very interesting to see. Also, whether or not that he takes tires, we'll have to wait and see. Coming in with half an hour to go in the race. Than half an hour to go in the race. It's a little bit late for the tire change, but he might have opted to do so if he felt like the tires was falling off the cliff. There goes the move. Ooh, contact half of a slide there, it looks like, but not really enough. Maybe it was not even contact, just the car spinning out, trying to avoid the contact. Could have been hard to see really on the split screen, but nevertheless, he tried for it and didn't succeed. And full screen. Let's see where Quinton rejoins the club. Yes, he has started moving, have Quinton. He will come out ahead of Bas Van Mellis, it looks like. By quite a margin. That could indicate that there were no tires changed in that car. Quinton is ahead of Van Mellis, then he will be second still over all of those who have pitted virtually in second. It must be as Vargas behind, have dropped to both Hill and Schickermann there in turn one. If Schickermann and Hill both have pitted at this point, and Schickermann have actually moved himself into virtually third in the race and demoted Hill to fourth in the 555, and he goes McLaren there. McCoffin in the pits. So that was Bas's fighting mate. He might be trying that to undercut him. But Schickermann and Hill, that could be a little bit spicy later on in this race, but they are right behind Andrew Richardson, who is still yet to pit. Of course, no obligations for Richardson to get out of the way. They're still racing for track positioning. But again, how much will Richardson fight this if they are actually sending it on him? Only time will tell. But Hill and Schickermann, they will want to get this move done as quickly as possible to try and catch back up to Quanton and Thomas. for the top spots of the race. Very close there into the far chicane at the back straight. And Hill does the very smart thing and brakes a little bit more than necessary there, just to make sure to avoid the contact. Very smart driving. To finish first you have to finish. That's what they say at least. Schickerman on Richardson into turn 1. That should be a move done and dusted. Also really good for Schickerman that Hill didn't have the opportunity to follow him through, as Hill will now have to negotiate Richardson himself, as Schickerman can now have a chance to pull a little bit away from David Hill there. I'm also just spying in the background that Mr. Richard Pritchley are applying a lot of pressure on Nick Vargas. Of course, Pritchley already pitted on Vargas, just he didn't seem to be wanting to fight that too much, as it looked like he almost just let Pritchley go through there. But Hill still not through Richardson. Will he try it into the eastern hairpin? No, Richardson takes that Barshish line, but runs a little bit too deep there, and Hill finally gets through Richardson. But look at the distance between Hill and Pritchley now. This could potentially mean that Pritchley in the mighty Nissan could go up and challenge Hill later on in this race. Remember, Pritchley didn't have that good of a qualifying, so it is interesting to see him up there. That could indicate that Hill have taken a fresh set of tires, and Richardson might not have, or maybe maybe Pritchley might not have, but maybe Pritchley have just been super quick as well. Next time I will probably start noting stuff down on a notepad next to me so I can see what's going on in the race. But honestly, was a little bit rushed getting into the commentary booth for this one. Wasn't expecting to be here at all, but you know how it goes. Michael Thomas up into 4th position now, have just made the move on Nikolai Schröder. Still with the fastest lap of the race have Michael Thomas. That's why his position is lit up by purple around it on the left-hand timing board. Good driving for Michael Thomas. Has been a little bit of a quiet race for him ever since he got away from the Quantum in the start. Not much have happened to him, of at least on the stream. That's just like back in the days with Mark Webber in Formula 1. He would usually get super good results, but you wouldn't see him at all on the Formula 1 broadcast, as it would be just very neutral driving. Speaking of neutral driving, or something that's not neutral at all, Andy King have gotten close to Mr. Schröder for currently 5th on track, but remember, they still haven't pitted yet. They are definitely not taking tires, so they are going as deep as possible to be running with as low fuel as possible for as long as possible. Many possibles being mentioned there. Good thing we don't have a drinking game that says you have to drink every time the word possible is being said. If you have that, then just for you out there, possible. But again, King can maybe catch up to Schröder, but he'll still have to get the move done. Back here, the two Mode 11 cars still at it with each other. The two Mercedes Mode 11 cars, we should say, of Andrew Richardson and Nick Vargas. Vargas must be getting a little bit tired of looking onto the rear wing of Richardson's car at this point. They've been seeing that for quite a bit of this race. But again, it could be worse. Or could it really isn't your teammate the one that you always want to be? And to be honest, if I could have a fair chance of going toe-to-toe with Andrew Richardson, any track, any car, then I would be very happy to be that close to him. So good to see that Vargas have a lot of pace in the Mercedes. A car that we have seen become gradually more and more unpopular over the last year. But good to see that the Mode 11 crew at least are bringing it back into play with two Mercedes in this race, and I do believe that Anthony Port as well with the classic CBS are they were with Mercedes, but yeah, I think he retired, although he must have retired at this point in the races. He's no longer causing a yellow flag. Still unsure as to what happened to him. If he's not watching, that he could maybe potentially tell us that he got RTP, so he could potentially go back on track, though unlikely with less than 20 minutes to go. I wonder at this point if there's a move down in the bottom right hand side. That's a Prixley on Van Melis. It looks like now Prixley finally got past him. So that's Prixley up into 11th position in the race. In the big old Godzilla Nissan. So now he can focus on the chasing down Mr. David Hill for 10th. Fredriksson leading the race, still yet to pit. His great endurance experience are definitely coming into play here, knowing how to nurse the tires in the Lamborghini and being used to run the high fuel loads in the car. 20-second lead to Mitchell's in second position. So potentially he will at least be ahead of Mitchell's if after the pits if he takes tires, and a further 12 to Robinson, and then Michael Thomas is right behind Robinson. So that's 20, 32 seconds. Fredriksson could potentially come out close to Thomas if he only does a very short pit stop with 1 liter of fuel. That could become interesting down the line. So for Fredriksson, he will hope that Thomas had difficulties getting past Robinson for third overall in the race at this point. As Fredriksson, I can't say that it's been that much of a quiet race, as he did have that big freeway battle early on in the race with Quanton and Hill, and of course the start of the race was a bit hectic as well for Mr. Fredriksson, but the Norwegian driver have done well to put himself into a position where he could potentially challenge for a top step of the podium, but Michael Thomas is going so fast out there on track, it will be difficult to keep him behind, as he still have 16 minutes to go faster and faster, and Thomas will definitely be on a fresh set of tires. Quinton trying to move on parties. Parties are still yet to pit. Quinton could potentially have been taking tires at his stop. And Quinton goes through into 7th position in the race. Second of those who have pitted, but where he is virtually will be dependent on how the pit stop goes further up the field. Vargas once again with Richardson down there close together. Bridgely up here in 11th. Always good to see the Nissan in frame. And again, shout out to the Wild Things Racing cars. Some of my probably my favorite collection of sim racing liveries would be the Wild Things Racing liveries. Especially the still classic colors with the black and pink on the black, but their M4 was especially nice to look at. Big shout out there to Denise Poe, who does the livery work for those cars. In more modern times, when they're running their newer iteration of the liveries, they're running a pink car with black sponsors on top of that, which is also a fun car to look at, as you will always be able to tell them apart from the opponent teams on track. It is a shame, really, that we don't see more cars with those unique color combinations. But good to see at least quickly revving up the Wild Things team there. Big wang as well on the Nissan. One of the I would say trickier old cars to drive. It is really nice once you get used to it, but seating positions and size of the car in general are quite different to many of the other cars that you'll be driving in the GT3 category. Also a little bit tricky on the handling. It's actually fun that we have, or not that fun, but strange that we haven't seen a Bentley for a while in SSRI. We have seen them flourishing in different communities with reason with reasonably good results. But again, it could be down to the drivers who chooses to drive them that might just be that good when they're in them. Also, no Lexus this season, which is a shame, really. I need a Sword here with Ordelman behind. The Sword in the Mustang, Ordelman with the Aston Martin, I would say. Looks like an Aston Martin at least. That Mustang just sounds so nice. Drive-through penalty for McCoven there. That must be track cuts, as he have not just come out of the pits. So track cuts there for McCoven. Rules about the track cuts are, of course, that you get the 3 warnings, and then the 4th one will be a drive-through penalty. Unfortunate for him in the race. We did see him have that massive battle there, or at least the battle there with Bas Van Mellis earlier on in this race. See that Ordelman using all of the track and a little bit extra there to try and keep up with Danny the Sword. Of course, the Sword are a very, very quick driver usually, so he will be difficult to stay with, as the Sword definitely knows how to put a race car around the racetrack. He used to be the beer boy for the CBSR team, at least the beer counter for them, so they could keep track of their racing problem while drinking. Is that Nick Vargas finally getting the move done on Andrew Richardson? Looks like it. Vargas goes through initially, at least into turn 1, and he makes it stick. It looks like Nick Vargas have taken position over Andrew Richardson for the Mode 11 battle there. Finally, Vargas got that done. That was about time. But again, it did look like that Vargas wasn't that good coming out the final corner and the corners leading onto the back straight, which does complicate overtaking a little bit around this track. So we must assume that either he just nailed it there through the final hairpin, or Richardson had a little bit of a bad exit or something like that. But good to see that he got that move done. At least for Racing 6, as the Sword have kept Ordelman a little bit further up the field. Oh, Richardson. Oh, Richardson seems to be in trouble. Hanske gone through Richardson. What in the world? Maybe Richardson have some disconnect. No, he's right behind there. What has happened to Richardson? A fall from grace, some might say. But still in the race in the 444 Mode 11 car. He needs to get back at it and get his composure back and get those that concentration back up. But of course, Hanske already took his pit stop, so they're not he's not that important for Richardson straight at this point, as he would inevitably go through anyway once Richardson cycles through his pit stop. With just over 10 minutes left of this race. Remember to hit the like button, maybe even give it a little bit of a tap on the subscribe and notification as well. That will help out the YouTube channel of Simsport Racing International a lot. Yes, we have to say that a few times during a stream for YouTube reasons. You just have to. Come on, Brent is being mentioned in the chat. And yes, Brent is Brent Quanton. I assume that's for Brent Quanton, Quanton up into 6th position. Third of the people who have taken the pit stop as Fredrickson have taken his stop at this point. Came out quite a distance behind Michael Thomas, 11 seconds behind him. And Quanton have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-ish seconds up there, but Quanton are on much fresher tires than Fredrickson. So if Quanton really manages to put a good few laps together, he could potentially catch up to Fredrickson by the end of the race, but he really needs to get maximum pace out of that Honda. And remember, his Anaconda don't want none unless you got Buns Honda or something. A Honda doesn't ride a Honda. However that song goes. Nevertheless, strong performance from Quanten here. His first time out here in SSRI. He is leading the semi-pro class by well, he's not leading it technically as Andy King still haven't pitted, but the nearest semi-pro to him who have pitted would be Danny DeSwart in 15th position overall. Quite a way down the road track position wise, as we can see how Quanten is getting closer and closer to that's actually a back marker BMW ahead of him. I was hoping it would have been Andy King, but again, King should be a good 7 seconds off the road, so that would be surprising. I think that's the maybe Kurt Peters BMW ahead of him, but Hanke here further down, getting very close to Nick Vargas. Will Vargas try and defend this camera freak out there? Not that much. He just keeps the racing line there. Does Vargas? Hanke not close enough there, and Vargas doesn't want to lose out too much on letting him go. Of course, Hanke there goes very deep in there, makes contact with Nick Vargas, who goes into the gravel trap. We've seen that a few times this race, and people misjudge their braking into that particular corner. Vargas back on track, rolling again, but Vargas have dropped down behind Andrew Richardson after that contact. Very unfortunate there for Nick Vargas. He cannot be happy with that, as he finally got the move done on Richardson. Now he's way back behind again and can look up into the rear wing of his teammates Mercedes as well. And he probably even picked up some rear end damage there, did Nick Vargas. It might be too late in the race for damage repairs. I would probably not choose to get them repaired in the pits at this point. Obviously, depending on how much damage it is. But yeah, that deep into a race like this, concentration could also be an issue for some drivers after already more than an hour of driving. 1 hour of racing, we should say, as they have been here for over 2 hours, including practice and qualifying already. And we did see a lot of good activity, both in practice. Of course, saw a lot of activity in qualifying. Anything else would be a little bit suspicious, I would say. So yeah, but Vargas still hanging in there, at least trying to collect as many points as possible. But he must be fuming, trying to keep as much concentration as possible, but he must be saying some naughty words in Dutch after that contact. Odelman behind DeSwart. He seems to have been catching up again to DeSwart, as DeSwart did manage to gap him a little bit earlier on in this race, or just 2 laps ago, which is obviously also early on in the race, but 2 laps ago DeSwart seemed to have the upper hand. But now Odelman seems to be getting right back in it. IRL Endurance Racing Team, the team of Odelman. Those battles as well, Robinson and Nart Cox further down the road. Speaking of battles, we haven't seen Cox all race. A little bit surprising, really, but sometimes that's just how racing goes. Quiet races for some people. And Bidargo also in 17th, but I think Bidargo had some sort of issue early on in the race, if I remember correctly. I think I saw him at least in the pits very early. That could have been damage repairs. Of course, that is unconfirmed. We don't know. Mitchells comes into the pits from second, and car number 25 comes out on track directly ahead of these drivers, track position wise. So he will have dropped to about 8th position, maybe 7th, that area-ish. But very close there from Hill in the back of Shigerman. And Parties not that far up the road from these drivers, but then Parties still are yet to pit. But David Hill have come back up to Shigerman, and 4 minutes to go. He will be thinking of whether or not that he will try for the move or just collect the points that he will get from his position. We know that David Hill is a very intelligent driver, and sometimes it's worth keeping the larger or the greater picture in mind when you are driving. So let's see how he does later on as Parties just gets out of the way for the two drivers. Looks like that the Shigerman got a little bit of an advantage there in the overtakings of Parties. But again, it could still be there to play for Hill with at least 2 meters just crossed of 2 laps to go, I will assume, in the race when they come across the line. Again, could become a little bit of a Hail Mary situation, so we will probably have to see the drivers who needs to pit come in this time or next time around. Schröder does it this time, but King are still yet to do so. Let's see if Parties joins him in the pit lane. Don't look like it as he's that far behind these two. Already, yeah, Parties into the pits as well. Van Melis, will he take it this time around? Just coming up to the pit entry now, yes. Bas Van Melis comes in. It will be quite interesting to see where Bas comes out in all of this. As he was closely engaged of the horse, of course, have returned to Garrick and retired basically from the race, and what was his name? The Scottish Irish sounding English guy name who had the drive booth. It would probably also be ahead of him after the pit. Oh damn, must have missed the notification for the series. Oh yes, but we already started. Us comes out in 19th, one car behind, but both Ping, Richardson, and Vargas 20th now. Bas comes out into traffic. But still, Richardson and Vargas are yet to pit. That is that Robinson? Bas have come out directly behind, or is that the 888 car of Van Doren? It's hard to say, really. It could be Van Doren, I think. I think Robinson have a different livery on his car, maybe. Yeah, that must be Van Doren as Robinson is much further off the road. So right back into the classic SSRI battle between PBSR and the Mode 11 racing team. This lap and one more for these two drivers. But again, the gap is that large, and Bas is once again like both. Ooh, what's going on up here? He'll have been trying the move on Shigerman, but Shigerman denies it into turn one. It looked like this could throw a little bit of a line out to Crixley behind. Vargas comes into the pits. I would assume that Richardson joins him as well for that. Yeah, Richardson into the pit lane as well. But yeah, that could have been the one time that Hill could have tried it. This could be the final lap for these drivers, which means Michael Thomas will very likely take the checkered flag to win it ahead of Fredrickson. But Swanson, definitely one of the drivers to look out for the rest of the season. Top performance in his first race here in SSRI. Winning the semi-pro class and finishing third overall. It looks like he will. But again, nothing's over until they actually cross the line. Michael Thomas takes the checkered flag as we speak, winning the first round of the 2024 fall season. With Tej Fredrickson, the Norwegian driver, coming in to claim second, both overall and in class. Stellar drive from the Norwegian, putting the I was about to say Ferrari, that would have been strange. The Lamborghini into the second step of the podium. Quants in their first race in SSRI, great drive from him, celebrating by giving the virtual mechanics something to think about. P3 and winning the semi-pro class. Regan Mitchell's come across, finishing fourth and taking third in the pro class. Spiegelman holds off David Hill for fifth, Hill in sixth, and Richard Brixley in seventh. Second place in the semi-pros, it looks like, will go to Andy King, who played the long game with the strategy and going as deep as he possibly could. Nikolai Schröder takes ninth, being the best of the Mustangs. Nico Hanke doing a great job as well, rounding out the top 10. And just for the sakes of it, we will mention that Swart takes third in the semi-pro championship also. Across the line he goes. Wow, what a race to start off the season. Not a quiet moment in this one. Top action throughout. And I'm just trying to sort out this so we can see if people are coming in for interviews or whatever. Remember, finishing top 3, then we would very much like to hear from you in the commentary room. Not to mention that in the driver's briefing, but it is what it is. Go to the interview waiting room if you finish top 3 in your class, or if you just have had an interesting race that you might want to tell us something about, or yeah, well, anything really. We'll be hanging about for I'll be a good few minutes here if someone comes in. If not, then we'll probably bail out shortly as it is getting somewhat mid-ish late here in the Central European countries. Of course, the British are an hour behind, so it is what it is. But yeah, good start to the season. I can't remember off the top of my head where we're going next round. I do know that next week we'll see the Tier 2 drivers take on the infamous Nurburgring. It'll be very, very interesting to see how they will negotiate the track. Whether or not that they can keep it as clean as the Tier 1 drivers. We are crossing our fingers for that. Only thing that is guaranteed, I will not be there for commentary for that race. I hope that someone else will come in and join for that. But it is Barcelona next time around for the GT3 drivers in Tier 1 on the 17th of September. It must be before Zolder, Monza, and finishing off at Donnington. Of course, same schedule for Tier 2 drivers just a week later. Next time we go for a 75-minute race will be on Monza. That will be a very, very interesting one. As I think that most people will go for the fuel-only strategy there, so it's not that tire demanding. But we'll have to wait and see. Barcelona will be 60 minutes, and yeah, mandatory tire change in that one. So usually not the biggest differences in strategy for those races, but we will surely have to wait and see what will go on there. Well, no one joined for a little interview out there. Again, Discord channel interview rating room. Doesn't matter if it's where you finished in the race. Maybe you just want to say a few words. Maybe you had a fun first time out on the track. Maybe in the community you just had a good first race. Maybe even a bad race that you want to share some information about. We'll just be hanging around for a little bit longer to wait and see if anyone wishes to come in. But if not, then we can do a little bit of a promo for the 24-hour charity race that we are having here on the Simsport Racing International community. Chris can probably tell me in my ear when it's going to happen, but it will be on the Nurburgring Nordschleife. As I think he already pulled it up on the stream, actually, but no dates, Chris. No dates on it. Damn it. It's the 21st of September. We will start the race there. I will try and get my IT stuff sorted so I can race myself. If not, then you'll be stuck listening to me for most of the race, which also some people probably will not have anything against, of course. But we have to wait and see for, for that. But go in and do sign-ups. Hopefully, get a team together and help us raise a little bit of money for a good charity, a good cause. But yeah, if no one wants to come in for the famous interviews, then we'll be rounding out this evening here on the Simsport Racing yes, Simsport Racing International YouTube channel. With these final words, I have been Oliver Anderson, Mr. 10 Oliver, commentating on this race. As always, Grandpa Chris Hill behind the cameras doing a stellar job for you guys out there. Have a good evening, and hopefully you'll be re-watching the